Today we have Professor Tadokoro with us in the studio. Professor Tadokoro, thank you for taking the time to have this interview with us.
My pleasure.
And I would like to start with my first question. On February the 24th, the United States, Britain, and Spain submitted a new resolution to the United Nations Security Council seeking its approval for military action against Iraq. First of all, Professor Tadokoro, would you please give us an outline of the new resolution as well as the background and the aim of the three-country submission of this resolution?
Okay, I'll do the best, but the new resolution is still informal, meaning that it has not been officially presented yet. So the final wording and the final substance, even substance of the resolution, has not been established yet. But according to what is reported, put it very simply, the new resolution would basically authorize an American-led military action against Iraq. The Security Council already adopted a resolution, the resolution 1441 last November. The resolution acknowledged that Iraq had failed to comply with preceding UN resolutions on disarmament. The resolution also said that Iraq would be given the final opportunity to comply with its disarmament obligations within 30 days. Now, after the 30 days, the UN inspector reported to the Security Council, and the report says that Iraq did not completely comply with the mandate given by the Security Council. The new resolution prepared by British and the Americans would declare probably that Iraq failed to take the advantage of the final opportunity given by the Security Council, and now it is time for enforcement, the end of diplomatic negotiation. So that is what I understand the substance of the resolution.
And also on February the 24th, France, Germany, and Russia submitted to the U.S. Security Council a proposal for an alternative plan to pursue a peaceful disarmament of Iraq. The memorandum says the military option should only be a last resort, and so far the conditions for using force against Iraq are not fulfilled. Professor Tadokoro, what was the background and aim of the fact that France, Germany, and Russia submitted a joint proposal in direct confrontation with the U.S., British, Spanish resolution?
Well, that is a very interesting question. Let me start with France. France has been always trying hard to take somewhat independent position from the United States. And they believe that in order to strengthen their international position in the world, American unilateral foreign policy posture must be conditioned or restrained by international institutions such as the United Nations. Therefore, they believe that given their independent tie with Arab countries, it is a good time for them to show off their veto power at the Security Council. And of course, they do have very strong anti-war public opinions at home. What is more interesting from my viewpoint is Germany. Germany, in contrast with France, has been always a very loyal ally for the United States all the way through the post-war period. So the Germany's strong reaction is rather striking for experts like myself. It seems that the reason behind Germans' objection to the American-led efforts is based on kind of frustration with American hegemony. And also, what is important is with the end of the Cold War, they are now far less dependent on the United States than they used to be, so they can now afford taking more independent position than before. Now, Russia is rather difficult for me to analyze, but from what I understand, Russians are taking far more opportunistic attitude on these issues. Therefore, they are trying to gain as much political benefits out of their veto power at the Security Council in the process of deliberation on this issue.
I see. In the early morning of the next day, which was February the 25th, the Japanese government announced its support for the U.S.-backed resolution on Iraq. What was the diplomatic reason and aim of that announcement?
Well, Japanese policy seems to be motivated by largely two factors. One is its strong willingness to maintain close tie with the United States. Unlike Germany or France, Japan is still heavily dependent on the United States for its security, particularly when North Koreans are posing serious threats toward Japan by restarting their nuclear programs. Japan simply cannot afford worsening its relation with the United States, by which giving a wrong signal to the North Koreans. So that is one major component of the Japanese diplomatic motivation. On the other hand, Japanese support for the United States is neither unconditional nor limitless. Japanese, as a part of the international community, cannot support illegitimate military action by any country, including the United States. Japanese people in general are particularly sensitive toward military actions, particularly after the Second World War, and it is widely shared perception among the Japanese population at large that military means is permissible only as a last resort. Therefore, Japanese public opinion in general is taking unfavorable attitude towards American military, possible military actions toward Iraq. The possible war against Iraq, like in Europe, is therefore far from popular in Japan either. Thus, Japanese want to see American actions being legitimized and supported by the international community at large. Therefore, new resolution which authorize American and British possible military actions is most desirable for the Japanese. Therefore, Japanese government are working very hard to come up with new resolution.
And right now, the interest of the international community is focused on whether the U.S.-backed resolution will get the UN approval or not. And in order to be approved, the resolution must receive at least 9 yes votes among the 15 council members. But it is also possible that France, Russia, and China, that are permanent members of the U.S. Security Council, will exercise their veto power. Professor Tadokoro, how do you view the recent movements of the UN Security Council over the Iraqi issue?
Well, it's very hard to tell because much is going on behind the scenes at the United Nations. But my best guess is that Chinese and Russians are taking rather opportunistic attitude. Therefore, depending on the outcomes of the discussion with the United States, they could come up with relatively easy compromise with the United States. Because they are not prepared to seriously deteriorate their relations with the United States on this issue. So they would not like to stick out as opponents to the United States. The key seems to be France. Germany, of course, is very much adamantly against American-led military operations. But Germany, for better or worse, does not have veto power at the Security Council. The key seems to be France. Traditionally, France comes to terms with the United States at the critical juncture. So it is easy to guess that even France will come to terms with the United States by coming up with some sort of compromise. But this time, I am not sure because France is now strongly supported by Germany as a major partner within EU. And also, France position is very strongly supported by trans-European public opinions, not only French public opinion, but German, even British public opinions. So I'm not sure how much diplomatic flexibilities French government enjoys at this juncture. But in any case, very intensive behind-the-scene negotiations are going on currently to come up with some sort of compromised resolution.
I see. It's reported that the United Nations Security Council will vote on the new resolution for Iraq on March the 7th. How are the United States and Britain likely to react to the result of the vote if the resolution is approved or rejected? Would you please share your views on either case with us and also give us the reasons for both countries' possible reactions?
Well, again, it's hard to tell. Usually academia is not very good at telling the future, but let me do the best. If a new resolution of the kind currently the U.S. and Britain are proposing is adopted, it simply means that a military strike will start. In that case, the U.S. can expect more international support, including the one from Japan, and it would make most probably post-conflict peace-building efforts smoother, since the efforts will also be a matter of international responsibility rather than the American responsibility. Now, if resolution is not adopted or vetoed by France, then it is difficult to tell for sure, but my best judgment is it's rather unlikely that the United States will refrain from taking a strong measure simply because the new resolution is not adopted. They maintain the position, both British and Americans, maintain the position that Resolution 1441 already authorizes military action towards Iraq. Besides, Americans find it difficult to keep large forces currently deployed in the Gulf area for long, so they would attempt to get a speedy and decisive victory even through military means, with or without the new resolution.
I see. And now let's turn our focus back to Japan again. We know that Japan has expressed support for the U.S.-backed resolution at the U.S. Security Council. Professor Tadokoro, what do you think of the Japanese attitude towards this Iraqi issue, and how will the recent Japanese announcement of the support affect its future diplomatic efforts through the United Nations and its position in the international community?
Well, quite frankly, I do not think much will change. It is well known that the United States is obviously far more critical than the United Nations for Japan's vital national interests. Therefore, the expressed Japanese support is no surprise for the international community at large. Also, I don't think Japanese position is completely consistent with the pattern of the Japanese diplomacy for a long time. Japanese position is basically how to harmonize its close relationship with the United States and its relations with the rest of the international community. And therefore, we need both United States and the United Nations. And that is exactly what the Japanese government is doing, and they will keep doing so. What makes big differences, though, is not Japanese action, but depending on how the new resolution is adopted or is not adopted, the authority of the Security Council in itself may be severely damaged. If Americans go ahead even without the new resolution, then the United Nations would look very much irrelevant. And that would in turn undermine the French and Russian and Chinese veto power. Therefore, even they have strong motivation to come to terms with the United States in some way or the other. But they may fail. So what is at stake is not only the Japanese position, but also the shape of the global political landscape in general.
Thank you for sharing your insights with us today, Professor Takoto. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was Professor Masayuki Takoto of Keio University, interviewed by Melody Chi.